Tom here from Lawrence Systems. Welcome to Vlog Thursday 328. I like saying Azure BingBang because it's fun. So it's a topic we'll talk about in a moment. I wanted to start the vlog out though with where I'm going to be and when. So the where and whens are still MSP Geek Con. So I'll be at that on the 23 days from now, May 21st through the 23rd. And then I'm actually, this happened. Jason Slagle, who's been on this channel before, we did the video about hacking along with Cyber Matt Lee, and we're going to be speaking at IT Nation Secure. He submitted a talk, so if you're looking, if you're going to be at IT Nation Secure or MSP GeekCon, those are two places that I will physically be during certain dates at certain times that you are more than welcome to come say hi to me. So I will throw those out there. I have a guest today because this question has come up a few times about, hey, Tom, can you bring other staff members on? And I have no requirements to my staff. It is completely up to them if they would like to come on. Some people like to be on camera. Some people absolutely do not like to be on camera. I'm going to say that Jeremy is somewhere in between. And so let me bring him up. How's it going, Jeremy?
Howdy. How's everybody doing today?
It is actually a nice day here in Michigan. So that's like itching to go outside.
I can see some sunlight. We had like a week of really nice weather, and then it got cold again. Hopefully it evens out.
Yeah. Let me know. I see Travis. Travis is also a staff member here. Travis is among the people that do not want to be on there. Audience, let me know if Jeremy's quiet, because you actually sound a little bit quiet.
I can fiddle with my levels if need be.
Yeah, Jeremy's actually quite into audio stuff, but I figured I'd bring him on. Why not? Come hang out with us for a little bit. And there's more people than just a few people you've seen. So Eric and Steve have been on here several times. I don't know if Kyle's been on. Miles did a 3D printer video with me once because Miles is a resident 3D printer guy. Okay, they said you sound great. Perfect.
Nice.
That's the easiest way is I just ask the audience, like, we're doing it live, and then but the question people have for me a lot, they'll start throwing Windows questions at me, and I am bad at Windows. I can muddle my way through things in Windows. I understand conceptually how everything works in Windows. This guy knows exactly how things works in Windows. So what would you describe some of your tasks are here at Lawrence Systems?
Well, generally, if somebody calls in with general Windows issues, I try to help them. If they have any misconceptions or major misconceptions, I try my best to correct them. Or, more often than not, sometimes someone will go, hey, I have this really neat idea that is just going to blow a huge hole in my foot. Will you do it for me? And then I go, well, hold on, let's point that gun away from the foot and let's talk about this.
Yeah.
So generally, I just try to prevent people from making, misconfiguration issues and generally the default issues that seem to cause problems.
And you also help do the domain migrations and stuff.
Oh yeah, domain migrations, Exchange migrations, M365 setups, Azure setups, a little bit of AWS if it ever comes up. So, I don't want to undersell it, but generally if it touches Microsoft, it's in my lap at one point or another.
or if not, we're throwing it to them. We're passing it right along.
And if I have to figure it out as I go along, then so be it. I'm good at Googling.
Yeah. Well, and that's a lot. I think that's one of those things that you have to be good at Googling to be a technician. You just can't know it all. And with Microsoft especially, it's a moving target because what worked in last version, they may have moved or changed parameters around in current version. So
yeah, we still come across issues where there are things set, like in Microsoft 365, they have the legacy interface, which is this old depreciated interface that they used to do everything through. And there are sometimes settings in the legacy interface that impact the current interface, but are not replicated into the current interface. So sometimes you'll have to diagnose issues by going back into the legacy configurations that technically should have replicated over, but in a lot of instances don't. So you're sort of going back through settings in menus that are years old that should be somewhere, what they're not. So, sometimes you have to hunt things down.
And as coincidence would have it, so I do feedback by telling people to email me, vlogthursday@lawrencesystems.com. There is a question that came in today, and it's a Windows question. So, well, it's something actually I think you talked about working on today, or getting prep work for. It says, I was hoping you can have some time to do a tutorial to make AD work with pfSense and OpenVPN with the certificates. Isn't that what you guys were looking at? Is setting up a Radius server?
Yeah, I actually set up the Radius server yesterday, and we were going to try to get the integration working, or at least get it started this afternoon. So good timing.
Yeah, kind of what we do internally here is I like the staff to have time to test things. Jeremy is not a pfSense expert, but Eric is, and so is Steve. So the two of them all kind of work together sometimes to sort out some of the problems and come up with ways to do it. I also want to make some tutorials on it, and I'm not particularly good at it. So when you guys are done, some of this will be more data that we have a tutorial. Hey, I see Jason Slagle has joined the chat.
He's not wrong. Radius is fairly simple.
Yeah. So the me and Jason we work together on projects. He was just responding to me. We actually pass between Jason's company, CNWR, and my company. We pass projects back and forth. So it's been fun doing all of that. That's what. And me and Jason, I don't know if Jason joined at the beginning or not, but he's the Jason that I'm doing the talk with at IT Nation Secure. Jason did the submission, roped me and Matt Lee into it. So we're along for the ride. But I guess that means we have to stand up on stage and do stuff. Oh, fun. So what else is, I think the other project we're working on too is, and I just haven't gotten around to it myself, but we have that extra TrueNAS server, and we're going to tie together the TrueNAS AD to make a 2023 version. I've got an old tutorial on my channel for AD integration with it, but I think there's a lot that's changed, and it's but it's there's a lot of change, and I think that's something I want to dive into, and I'll probably bring Jeremy along for that one too, like to help me document it. I don't mind being the one who presents it, but if you want to know what goes on behind the scenes, and don't make the assumption that Tom's super smart. I just hired some really smart people, and I look at what they do, and then I talk about it on my channel. That's there's no. Would you say that sounds about accurate for me?
I mean, there are some things where I won't even dare to try to keep up with you, and there are other things where I'm just like, is Tom wrong? Yeah, Tom's wrong. Okay.
Yeah.
So, just like everybody, there are certain things I'm good with, but I mean, clearly, it's me versus you. You win.
Mm-hmm. I see. Jason just got here. He's got a bail soonish. He's got a smoldering dumpster fire. Yes, I know he's been dealing with a dumpster fire all morning. That's a whole nother chat thread we have. Cool. I didn't turn off my Slack, so I got these Slack notices coming from Jason and M. So we got approved to bill a client for a bunch of stuff. So
nice.
Let's see. Oh, my voice went up and down. One of the other things I want to talk about, though, and let's bring this up, because did you get a chance to read this BingBang?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, this is wild, and this is something you may not know. So the people over at Wiz Security, they know where the bodies are buried because they're former Microsoft people. They're the former cloud engineers. They left and formed the company. So what better company to poke at than your ex-employer? Because what wasn't fixed is, I think, so they went through, and this is just crazy. I don't know why this is not a more popular article. It got popular when I shared it on LinkedIn, but I'm like, let's go ahead and dive a little deeper into this, because this is one of those things. I know the cloud is scary, but guess what? It's not going anywhere. The Azure AD integrations are going to continue to happen. This is just where Microsoft is pushing it. If you're dependent on Microsoft, and if you work in the enterprise space at all, this is what you're going to have to deal with. But what's crazy is these people were able to find some flaws that allowed them to take over Bing. That's scary to me.
Yeah, they're basically able to inject, because from my understanding, there's a UI that basically is like the Bing backend for your user account, and it can take a reference to particular search queries, the default Bing search page, things like that, and basically injects that into your session. And what it was allowing them to do is basically take that and inject data into searches, and it allowed them to do a whole lot more than that. That was just the example they came up with.
Yeah, essentially they got into what you could call Microsoft's management dashboard. And I like that they chose this as a big target, but this is the part that's interesting, is like, hey, we got your attention. We took over your Bing thing you're doing over here. So let's talk a little bit more about how that works. And essentially it's a way that they're breaking the boundaries, what should be locked down tenants. I think, what is that one Microsoft? Is it the Cosmo DB system that they have? Is that what it's called? I think it's called Microsoft Cosmos. That was listed in a big security flaw they patched like just a couple years ago, and it's the same thing. Someone was able to prove you can get into other tenants. They broke some of the boundaries, and Microsoft had a flaw in this. And this is where things get really aggravating, and we're going to need a better way to handle this. Did you know, Jeremy, there's no CVEs for cloud flaws? Yeah,
No, I didn't. Okay,
it's
well, I
yeah.
guess I got a new hobby.
Yeah. So it's kind of interesting when you find a flaw in there, you can report it, and they may have, different bug bounty programs and reporting methodologies, which they did. Microsoft fixed all this, by the way. But what I didn't realize was there's not a CV assigned to it because they don't have a normal system as of yet that will assign CVEs to cloud. So when you find these egregiously bad, misconfigured problems of things, and you're able to take over a Power Automate blog and Cosmo, a file management system for managing over 4 exabytes of Microsoft internal data. Yeah, once you're able to take over these things, you're like, oh, so what's the CVE for this? And we can let people know. This is actually the cloud people don't want it because then there would be a CVE that we could track in the news, and that would be a problem for them, publicity wise, anyways. Because every company, takes the hit when there's a big CVE with their name on it, because then it's a very SEO targeted number. CVE, blah blah blah. Yeah, that was us. We did that thing. You can't do that with a cloud system. So this kind of gets swept under the rug, which I think is really going to be a problem in the future for security. So
Absolutely. Generally, accountability keeps everybody accountable. Visibility makes, was it the everything comes out in the sunlight or all the dirt comes out in the light or something like that? Like,
yeah,
no visibility, no accountability.
yeah, and I think it's if I point at, for example, someone asked me what I thought about Zyxel, and Zyxel. It's not about that a company has CVEs. The bigger the company is, the more popular company is, you're gonna find stuff broke. That's just an acceptance. Like, hey, if you write complicated code, you're gonna find broke. But what did they find? Was it a buffer overflow? Was it some type of unsanitized input? Those happen. Or were they hard coding credentials? And I like that I can point at my reason for not liking Zyxel and several other companies was they've hard coded credentials inside their devices and thought no one would notice. And I actually don't think it was for nefarious reasons. I think it was for stupidity reasons, because when I read the write up of why they did it, they just thought it was easier to put a password in so they could get into update things. And they're like, you didn't think anyone would find it? Like that was the dumb answer for the hard coded backdoor. But there's a CVE I can point to where people can find it. There's people who did write ups on it. I can tangibly, and by the way, they have a history of doing this not just once, but several times. And one company has a history of, yeah, we keep putting credentials in our system. You just have bad coding practices at this point.
Yeah, see, what's funny is in this case, it's sort of a similar thing because it is sort of a code problem, but quite literally, there's a field in there that's your sign-in audience. It's just literally a piece of code, and it determines whether it's single tenant, multi-tenant, all that sorts of stuff. And actually, that's not quite as relevant because this infected single tenant, multi-tenant, everything. And all it was doing was saying, oh, if you don't exist in my list of 80 users, I'll just generate a token for you and let you in. And it was doing that for anyone. So you could log in just with any username you'd make up, and then you could just start injecting data, pulling tokens, and then use tokens you could generate from users to read emails, access secure information. It got really messy. I was surprised. And it's one of these things where had they had, I don't know, it's honestly just bad practice from the people who sent out the applications.
Yeah. Just some little bad practice. Corey Thompson asks, how big of a headache will unbundling teams from Office 365 cause? I don't think there's any way to easily unbundle it.
Hmm.
I mean, what I know many, many companies do, hey, including my friend Jason Slagle, there's a reason Slack messages are going off. It's because we're not using Teams. We're doing, and by the way, same hate for Google Chat or whatever they're calling it today or yesterday or tomorrow or whatever it's going to be called next week, because we know Google likes to rename their G Suite stuff. There's a reason a lot of us use Slack is because we just know it's bad. So I don't know that you can really unbundle any of it.
Yeah, and everything that you have in your team's accounts actually are lock to the profile that you're on. So even if you were to unbind things, everything that you have in Teams, once it's removed from the account or connected to separate accounts, you'll lose everything that you have anyways. So Teams is one of those, it can be messy if you're trying to use it in any other way other than intended.
Yeah, there was also, I don't think this got assigned to CVE. There was an interesting report, and it goes back down to session token stealing, and I don't know where I fall on this because it's so fuzzy. So Teams, which is now not done this anymore because it doesn't work this way now. It was built with Electron, so the app was basically an Electron web wrapper for Teams, which is also why it was so slow. And I believe they've moved on from that. But someone had found, and I don't know if this is still possible after they moved on from Electron, but they found it trivial to grab the session tokens out. But where I find this is a flaw, I did a video on how easy it is to steal session tokens out of a browser to impersonate someone. The reality is, once someone gets on your computer and they grab your session tokens, whether they're in an app or they're in your browser, they're accessible, they're on your computer, you're going to have a bad day. So them unbundling will be an issue if they cause you to have to buy it. Yeah. Let's see. Reading the blog seems like a common misconception about what AAD, ODC, and what MS is not helping have a clear distinction, but AAD is mostly authentication, not authorization. Yeah. Teams is just built on SharePoint. I don't like SharePoint at all.
SharePoint has its uses.
Yeah, it just makes you go through pain to use it.
Oh, it's incredibly process intensive. I know there are customers that I've dealt with where they've gone from just a basic file share to SharePoint. And while SharePoint does add a lot of functionality, that functionality comes at a time investment cost. So if you got the time and you got the engineering, time for it, great. But if you don't, it can, drag your resources thin real quick.
Teams Windows Live Messenger Edition 2023 from Veronica Explains. It's also pretty easy to get to Teams Update or bring your own arbitrary EXE instead of their own. Yeah. Better than Cisco Jabber. I remember that.
Oh.
That's I don't know if you ever had to use any of that. There was a time when we had XMPP protocol. Matter of fact, Google originally was going to be standard stuff so we could all interoperably communicate using is it XMPP? XMPP. Yes, we're going to share this. Tell me if you're old enough to know the universal messaging standard of XMPP, Google Summer Code 2023. It's an open standard for messaging and presence, but it's supported, but not everybody used it. I'm funny that Google still sponsors it. I don't think you can connect Google to it anymore. Originally, the idea was we're just going to be carrying the same open standard protocol and you can connect whatever client you want. Those were the days when people had vision and the companies go, wait a minute. No, this isn't going to work. So we were talking about this. Jason Slagle likes a lot of and so do I. I think there's something about when you reach a high level of tech, you then go retro. You start just wanting to watch retro tech channels. And Veronica Explains is a retro tech. Well, not only, but she does cover some really cool stuff. She has a Commodore she put online. So it's a fun video to watch. So we got WebEx Spark, which was another thing. All right. Yeah, that was 2. What else? Were you an ICQ user, Jeremy?
Briefly, once upon a time. Now I'm just like trying to remember. So long ago. Speaking of Teams, seeing as how Teams is getting brought up, I think they're going to start really putting the energy behind Microsoft Loop next. That's their next big thing. It's basically like their platform that everything connects to and everything ties to and everything can essentially, you can create like static links to dynamic documents and all sorts of fun stuff. So that's what they're really pushing hard for next, it looks like.
Yeah. Tom, any chance of a video detailing multipath, iSCSI, and ChurNAS, including networks, separate subnets, host design setup? There is because I actually set it up because I had a client that wanted it done. So I built it all out in the lab because I've not seen anybody in production using it with XCP-NG. This was like 2-3 years ago in earlier days of XCP-NG. They wanted to confirm a couple of the design changes. So I built it out and did it. And I never really did a video on it. But it's gotten better. It's not hard to set up. You just build 2 subnets for storage, and you set up the iSCSI targets with different IPs different IPs you bind it to, and then it works. And then you just click the on button for multipathing inside of there. I use NFS. Most of our production clients, even we have a client, they had an interesting count. They have 4,000 hard drives spinning. So it's I don't know if you look at my calendar, you know who they were, because I was consulting with them on Monday. I was helping them with some other topics, but they actually, their XCP and G clusters, I think all have 512 gigs of RAM on each one of their servers. They have like 300. Jeremy's looking at the calendar.
Yeah, I am.
You'd be like, who's that company? They're big. But I forget how many VMs they have, like 200 or 300 of them or something like that. It was kind of cool. I always like consulting with them because all their interconnects are 25 gig between all the servers and everything else. So definitely lots of stuff. That's weird. Brett was calling me. He should know I'm doing things. But yeah, I'll work on a video for that because I have a lot of TrueNet stuff. The BBS days. It's a company with cloud in their name.
Okay. I see who it is now. Got it.
Yeah. We helped them move off of VMware. So, and we solved, he was actually happy because I talked about his Kubernetes problem he had that turned out to be a Broadcom network problem. And that, so yeah, don't use Broadcom network cards. That's like the answer.
That's funny because I learned that years ago when I tried to make the switch from Microsoft to Linux. And I was like, oh, I'm going to try to set up my own little custom Linux distro because I'll be a cool kid. And why am I having all these stupid networking issues? It's, oh, well, your networking card. I'm like, ha, 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 very funny. Like, no, it's your networking card. Like, oh, crap.
Well, there's some trivia I didn't know about Jason. He ran an Amiga BBS. Okay. That's awesome. You ever play with Amigas? Those are pretty cool.
Not really, no.
I never owned one. I knew a guy who did. I remember his name because it was Billy the Kid, and he had a computer store not far from me, and he had an Amiga shop. Like, I don't know, this would have been like late 90s, which was kind of weird because that's when they were getting phased out. Well, he was a computer store, but he had like a section of Amiga, I should say, which I thought was really cool.
Talking about this actually made me go, hey, I wonder if they have the Flipper Zero in stock. And they do.
Oh.
So,
Ooh.
yeah, I'm just like, oh, I better get one before they disappear. I've been trying to get one of these things for like a year, and they just disappear immediately.
This is one of the weird topics that I thought about covering. I still use I've been using just standard Pixel phones with the Google OS on here, but it's really targeted at my business. I'm just not worried about the phone privacy thing. Like, I'm not. It's a topic that comes up a lot. Graphene's kind of neat. I think it's cool. If I want to be private, I'll be very honest. My privacy, I know what can or can't be seen on my phone, and therefore I am where my phone is, and I may or may not go offline. But when I say offline, because if you go offline and turn your phone off, you now have created a gap of where are you if someone were to be watching you. By the way, read a lot of Cory Doctorow's books to get nervous on this stuff. But one of those things, because no signal is also signal. But if you want to be somewhere where you don't want people to track you, leave your phone at home. Turns out you don't really need it. And I like going offline occasionally, and I can just leave my phone somewhere. I usually don't because I usually want to take pictures with it, but I don't worry about it as much. So I don't think as much about privacy, but I'm extremely context aware of anything I share on my phone. And if it's something that I do not think belongs on potentially the internet, it will not be put on my phone. I will actually use a normal camera. If there was a photo or a thing, I always think about privacy as me controlling the narrative and coming at it from that perspective. So it's just, I've been on, as the discussion may have noticed here, I've been online since the BBS days. So I've always thought about it. I'm controlling what you know about me. And that's how I always thought of BBS. Like, I didn't give people my real name. I had the persona I had for it. So I always think about, even with social media, where I even maybe myself, I'm always controlling the narrative to tell you don't know anything more than I want to know you to know about me. So that's why I don't think as much about some of the privacy phone OS things as much, or I don't spend a lot of time dwelling on it. I do use Signal Messenger though. I really like it a lot. We all use Signal. That's how we have our meme chat that we there's a secret meme chat if you are a member of Lawrence Systems. You are slowly initiated into our dumpster fire of memes.
Oh yeah. Not for the easily offended.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And there's a reason it's on Signal, so everything can be yes. Because all the other tools are for business, and you should always put all your business talk, and you should always read it as if it's being read aloud in court. Oh, fun stuff. Even if your phone is off, it's still trackable. Yes, no. They know the last position it was. When your phone is off, it is not trackable anymore because it is not sending out signals. You can get, hey, probably some type of signal monitoring device like a Flipper Zero and see what type of emitting signals are coming from it.
I just ordered that, by the way. I was if I wait 10 minutes, it's going to be out of stock, so I just ordered it. Because quite literally, there's one time in the past where I've noticed it was in stock. I walked to my desk, grabbed my card, and then picked my phone back up, and it was out of stock. So I'm just like, now or never.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, they don't have stock very often. So if you're watching this live, you can also get one too. Now that Jeremy had his, I can say it, and then you guys can drive it out of stock for whoever else comes after.
Exactly. Well, that was sort of why I wanted to mention it. I'm like, I'll just share it with everybody, so we're in the know. We'll be the cool kids.
Yeah. Hide in a crowd, make your device non-unique as possible. Years ago, I don't know if you read this, Jeremy. Did you ever read any of Cory Doctorow's books?
I've looked at some of the people who read his books and make videos. Being lazy like I am.
I have, they're all free, by the way. You can download them right from his site. So there's, anyone can go download Cory Doctorow's books. I highly recommend them. So they definitely will make you think differently about privacy and security. And that includes his fiction books. I'm so excited about his Picks and Shovels series and Red Team Blues. Those are, I got to hear a preview. Will Wheaton is doing the audiobook for that. So I'm super excited about it.
Nice.
He did a Kickstarter on it. So I don't read much fiction, but Cory Doctorow fiction, it's so technical and right. But he talks a lot about this whole hide in the crowd, making your device non-unique. There's lots of things you can do to blend in. And Cory Doctorow, it's funny because the book he wrote was before so many the first versions were before we had so much technology. So now the question, it's like the Matrix. Would you have broke the vase if I hadn't told you about it? You know what I mean? Did he predict the future, or did governments read his book and go, hey, those are crappy things we can do?
Cryptonomicon is a pretty good book too. That's been around for quite a while.
Okay.
It's actually, I think it's on my bookshelf somewhere, but I'll pull it out later.
Fun stuff. And if anyone's curious, because I see people commenting that your phone is never really off. If you want to know if your phone's off, it literally, it can't send any signal without causing some electromagnetic interference. So this is something you can test yourself, is turn your phone off and determine how much electromagnetic interference comes out of it, how much signal is coming out of it. That is something tangible with non too expensive equipment you could do and measure this. I know a lot of people, what do you call it? A lot of people get really tinfoil hat, if you will, like they're obsessed over it, but it's often because they have a gap in how they think some things work. So they fill it in with assumptions. And that's often where that's the rabbit hole that gets you in trouble. You also have made someone's day. I ordered my flipper also.
Nice. I'm glad I could help. Now I'm just like, wait, hopefully I didn't get the Wi-Fi dev board. I'm like, no, wait, I just ordered a. Okay, we're good.
We're good. You got it. So,
yep.
Let me pull up the, hold on. I'll pull up the Cory Doctorow thing so people can actually, his latest one.
Just like EMP testing equipment. It's like, if I memory serves, aren't you able to make an EMP with a microwave? Like the part, that might just be something from once upon a time. I don't remember.
You can.
You can? Okay. So, got it. I know you used to be able to, I know you can make an arc welder from a microwave, but yes. I wasn't sure about an EMP. But then again, generally disclaimer, do not open up your microwaves and fiddle with the inside of them. Do not do that.
Yeah. We're not recommending it, but there's at least plenty of YouTubers that are doing something stupid like that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And by the way, you cannot charge your phone with a microwave, but that was so fun when someone said that. I don't know if you've seen those videos. You can put your phone in a microwave and rapidly charge it, and people were destroying their phones. And I'm just
yeah, it was the iPhone's rapid charging feature from like years ago. They're like, yeah, throw it in the microwave.
That's like how everyone. I don't know anything clever to say, so I will tell you. Oh, here's the command that you use in Linux. RMRF. Just do that. Um, but Red Team Blues and another audiobook Amazon won't sell. This was his because Cory Doctorow won't sell his books on Amazon because he only does books that are DRM free. By the way, you can get them for free. But this is the DRM free audiobook, the first Marty Hench novel read by the amazing Will Wheaton. I've listened to samples. You can find it on Cory Doctorow's podcast where he has Will on there to do the reading. It's solid. This is $152,000 Kickstarter campaign on this, which I thought was great. I've been such a Cory Doctorow fan for a very long time. Just love all the stuff he does. And he has such a strong technical background that he writes things that are very technically plausible and a lot of interesting topics. He's always fun to listen to. Did someone put a... yeah, did someone put a phone in microwave? Oh, too many someones. I mean, it was on
many,
TikTok.
many people. Yeah, I think you can just YouTube. There are just compilations of people who did it and who are very sad because of it. One thing, though, if you're not certain if your phone is completely off, do the microwave trick. That'll make sure it's off forever.
I don't think you know this, Jeremy. We played with the other day at the shop, which I don't even know if I posted. I don't think I posted a video anywhere. I should though. We have I think it's a 30 or 40,000 volt neon transformer that we blow things up with once in a while.
Oh, that just sounds like good fun.
Yeah. So one of these times when you're down at the office for lunch, because Jeremy usually works remotely. So we'll just, it's a little bit sheebiest. I showed a video last week because we actually, if you search around on my YouTube channel, we did destroy some printers. We filled them with fireworks. We haven't done that in a while. So maybe we should do something like that again too.
I'm always up for some explosives.
Well, you take the mortars, you buy like those mortars that you can buy here in Michigan, but you don't put them in the tubes. You just pack 3 of them inside of a printer. And it turns out it's way more fun than going up because the printer not just comes apart, but like red sparkles and purple sparkles go everywhere. It's a beautiful thing.
And you don't have to worry about the PC load letter messages.
Nope, not at all. Although we were talking about printer hacking. And Jason Slagle killed me with this one and says, we used to love you could reprogram what it said. And, you'd put something dumb in there once you figured out how to do that because they always had the default passwords. You could telnet into the thing because, yes, it was telnet back in the days. But you know how there's the old HP printers have like slots on the side of it? Jay would hack them and put insert coin.
Nice.
I just had this vision of a printer broken and someone's like, why are there so many pennies in this thing? And they're like, why does it say insert coin? Someone left the password at the default. Next, someone logged in and now it says insert coin. Radiation leak. Yeah. Radiation leak's a good one too. Oh, fun stuff. Well, I'm going to wind this down. I just figured I'd bring Jeremy on. Let me know if the other staff want to come on, they're always welcome to it. Jeremy said he was getting over a little bit of the stage fright and stuff like that. So his first time he'd been on camera. He's like, is it nervous? I'm like, don't need to be nervous. It's just a conversation. But I don't mind opening up for people who want to know about the business, want to talk about things. I will kind of continue on this. Maybe we'll get a Jason Slagle back on here. Me and Jason Slagle actually need to do an updated video on the hacking stuff because that video, where is that one at? I can throw it out there. We did this before, and I'm going to share the link real quick again. This is... let me put this in here in a chat. This is the how I would hack you video. And I might do some tutorials after that video because we talked about all the different things you need to do to secure things and conditional access tokens and stuff like that. And it's probably a good topic because setting all those conditional access tokens in Azure is tricky, but I know a guy. And maybe me and you will just do a video on that topic because what we want to do is we want to do a video of like how to hack you, which we did that one already, but maybe we'll do an updated one. But we want to do a defense video to talk about what we do as a blue team, as the company designated for securing other companies. What are those steps that need to be taken? I want to get more of that content out there. It doesn't get a lot of clicks, but there's a lot of value in it because it's everyone gets excited, the hacker side of things, but the reality is the defense side of things it is hugely important. It's actually what a lot of people, including my people at my company and Jason Slagle's company are employed to do is keep the defenses up and sort out people from, as Jeremy said in the beginning, keep people from shooting themselves in the foot with their settings.
Because honestly, what we've been dealing with Microsoft, and when I say we, I mean like the royal we, basically everybody, is like back in the day when Windows first rolled out, the new version, like Server 2008 or something. They have default settings that are in place, and they assume the technically competent users know how to configure it before rolling it out. But in most instances, there's a tech guy who ends up being, I'm the Windows guy because my brother owns the business and he saw me turn a printer on and off once. So now I'm the Windows guy. Rolls out all these settings by default, assumes they're good. And then, 5 years later, there's a data breach.
Yeah. And that's just the whole thing is, we come in, we assess, do audits and things like that. You try to establish baselines. We onboard stuff because Jeremy does a lot of the MSP work as well, going through and what do I call it? It's why are these servers yellow? Because they turn yellow in Ninja One.
Yep.
Why is this one red? Why did this person do this? I need to do an updated video because I realized when I was discussing with someone the UI changes we've made, as I think some of them you've probably even seen, from where Ninja One was a year ago when I did the video to it's been a little over a year since I did the video, and all the UI elements have changed. They keep making it better. So
I mean, honestly, from day one to now, Ninja is almost a whole different animal. And it honestly, I can't think of anything that's gotten worse. Which, I hate to say it, but most products, there's always one or two things you can complain about. This one, I'm just like, I don't have any complaints. Golf clap. Good job.
Yeah, absolutely. They just keep making it. The policy system's gotten better. The breadcrumbs. So that's worth me visiting again. Part of the problem is I'm on their it's not called the advisory board, but basically I have an in with them, if you will. I talk to people at high levels there, but what they've done is they've turned on everything beta so we can actually give them feedback. So they said they do this for me. I want to set up a separate instance where anything I can talk about, because sometimes we're sometimes like a slight version ahead on our instance for features that may not be rolled out to general public yet, so they can ask us about them. But especially they've done a lot of work with the backup system is much different now than it was before when I talked about it. So, and they made a lot of improvements there, and we're not, full disclosure, because of some of the problems we ran into it, we don't fully use it as much. We're using other backup systems, but it's something we'll readdress and revisit. But it's fun stuff to talk about. I like to let people know what we're doing behind the scenes. I don't think any of this should be mysterious. I don't like companies that are too obscure about it. I know it's not going to be the fastest or highest viewed content on the channel, but I think there's still some good value in it.
Like I said earlier, visibility creates accountability, and there's no business I can think of that's just like, oh, we're too accountable. We need less accountability.
Yeah. Well, at least maybe the cloud business, because that no CVE problem.
Yeah.
All right. Well, send emails to vlogthursday@lawrencesystems.com. Did any more emails come in before this is over? Nope. Sometimes people email in real time. I keep it up over here. Just look over to my left. I don't see anything new, but I see more stuff to do. Oh.
I always peer at my wall of monitors to make sure anything's going on.
Yep. Oh, and I got a "can we do this" from Brett. So that's why he called. Oh, this is actually going to be, this is what all right, this is for you. So when we're done with this, I'll message this one to you because someone needs help setting up an IS server.
Oh, okay. Sounds good.
So, all right, man. Later. Thanks.
Thanks. Have a good one, everybody.